Okay, so here we'll be looking at three different types of questions which you might get involving solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. Okay, so the first question we're going to look at is your most standard question, where they just give you an equation and ask you to solve it. So they're not specifically saying use the quadratic formula, but it really would be the easiest thing to do here. And the giveaway is when they say, give your solutions to the nearest decimal place or significant figures. That is the giveaway to use the quadratic formula in the first place. Okay, so first thing we have to figure out is what is A, what is B, what is C. A being the coefficient of x squared, so A is 3. B is the coefficient of x, which is 6. And C is the constant at the end. It's not 2, it is minus 2. Okay, we're going to plug that in to the quadratic formula. So I'll write out the quadratic formula here. X will be equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we can plug in these values now. So x will be equal to minus 6 plus or minus square root of 6 squared minus 4 lots of a is 3, and c is minus 2, and this is all over 2 lots of a, so 2 lots of 3. Okay, we can then simplify that. So x is equal to minus 6 plus or minus the square root, 6 squared is 36, minus 4 times by 3 is 12, 12 times by minus 2 is minus 24, so it's minus 24, and this is all over 2 times by 3, which is 6. We go further, this is equal to minus 6 plus or minus, now be careful here, 36 minus 24 is 36 plus 24, so it's the root of 60 all over 6. And when you use your calculator to find the two solutions, when you add on that root 60 and do minus 6 plus root 60 all over 6, you get a solution of 0.29 decimal places. And when you subtract that root 60, minus 6 minus root 60 all over 6, you get minus 2.29 to 2 decimal places. So those are your two solutions. So that's the most kind of standard and common quadratics equation you get there. Let's look at something a little bit different. So after Alison has plugged in all the values of a, b, and c into the quadratic equation, this is what it looks like. So our job here is to figure out what the values of a, of b, and of c actually are. Okay, so once again I'll write out the quadratic formula. So minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now straight away we can look at this minus 7. If minus b equals minus 7, so if minus b equals minus 7, then clearly b would be equal to 7. So we've already figured out what b is. Okay, and we can check that's correct because that 49 over there, that would be b squared, and 7 squared is 49, so we know we're correct. Okay, now minus 32, so that would be for minus 4ac, so we now know that 4ac would be equal to 32. But that doesn't help that much because there's all these combinations of A and C which could come to 32, so it doesn't clarify that yet. So we'll now focus on that 4 in the denominator, and that denominator is made up of 2A. So with 2A equals 4, then clearly A equals 2. And now we can use that A equals 2 to figure out 4 times by 2 times by C equals 32. Therefore 8C equals 32 and C equals 4. And then just to finish off, we can plug those 3 into the equation here. So A would be 2, so 2x squared plus 7x, since B is 7, plus 4 equals 0. So that was your original equation you would have used to generate this quadratic equation there. So that's that question answered. And finally, the third type of question is something like this. So the area of a rectangle is 30 centimeters squared. The width of the rectangle is 2 centimeters longer than the height. Work out the width and height of the rectangle. So we're going to solve this algebraically. So I don't know the width and I don't know the height. So I'm going to call the height x. So I'll call the height x. And if the height is x, the width is 2 centimeters longer than the height. So I can call the width x plus 2. Okay, when you multiply those two things together, you'll get the area of this rectangle. So x multiplied by x plus 2 will be the area, and the area, as we know, is 30 centimeters squared. Okay, I'm going to try to turn this into a quadratic equation where I make one side equal 0 so I can start solving. So I'll first expand these brackets, which will give me x squared plus 2x equals 30, and now the final step is just to subtract 30 from both sides. So that side now equals 0. Okay, and now I can solve. So clearly here, a is equal to 1 because the coefficient of x squared is 1. B is equal to 2 because the coefficient of x is 2. And C is equal to minus 30. So I'll plug those in to the quadratic formula. So minus b is minus 2, plus or minus b squared, so 2 squared, minus 4, a being 1, c being minus 30, and all over 2a, so all over 2 times by 1. So when you add on this square root, so we add on our first solution, will be x equals 4.6, so 1 decimal place. And our second solution, when you subtract, you'll get x equals negative 6.6. So those are your two solutions, and what you'll find is when you multiply those two together, you will get 30. Not exactly these two numbers because they're rounded to 1 decimal place, but you should be able to multiply the full answer together by that full answer together, and it would have given you 30 centimeters squared.